Hello, welcome to Squishy Vision. I'm gonna quickly do a 20-minute reaction to the first two episodes of Acolyte, which I watched yesterday evening, and then fell asleep before I could do a reaction video towards it. Very quickly before I need to go and get dinner ready because obviously in about just over 45 minutes we're gonna be watching Doctor Who. Um, it's good. Like, I know I'm pretty consistently a Star Wars defender because really it's boring to hate Star Wars, to be honest. Um, but I will be honest. Obi-Wan Kenobi was Obi-Wan Kenobi was shot very well, but didn't make a whole amount of sense. Like the acting was great. Some of the set design was great. Some of the the dialogue was great. I just had problems with thematically where it was, what it was, the story it was trying to tell. I'm massively critical of the Bad Batch. I seem to be the only person who's against the Bad Batch for some reason. But a vast majority of Star Wars is really good. It always has been. Where do I rate this to go from the beginning? Well, I don't think it's as good as Andor, but I think it's pretty what's the word? Pretty fresh. Essentially the point. Look, here's the thing. It's set in a unless you're unless you're very very familiar with the High Republic, be it pre-Disney EU or post-Disney EU. I'm still gonna call it EU because it is still expanded material, and EU is good to any. It's very confusing actually, but the non-visual medium stuff, the expanded stuff. Unless you're really big into High Republic stuff, this is, as far as on-screen main visual medium goes, this is still untapped, an untapped area. And for someone like me who doesn't know a huge amount about the High Republic era, me coming into this, I'm excited because this is Star Wars' opportunity to basically tell a story without the baggage of everything else. Like a lot of what goes on between the Phantom Menace and Rise of Skywalker is very tapped. That sounds wrong to say. It's explored. There's obviously stories to tell. And we keep doing it. But you plunk me into Star Wars, Jedi Fallen Order, and I don't know Cal Kestis' story, but I know what's going on I know what's going on in the universe at that time. I know what's going on in Galaxy at that time. I know that every time something happens plot wise, I'm gonna be drawing the connections. I'm gonna be trying to work out where this fits in. It's a big thing with Obi-Wan Kenobi. The entire time I was watching it, I'm trying to work out where everyone else is. Where's this tying to the bigger story? Am I catching all these Easter eggs? I'm sure there's Easter eggs in this show as well, but just the fact that it's Star Wars without having to worry, and even Andor, which is basically trying to do its own thing, set a Star Wars skin, is set very much in a pivotal point of the growth of the Empire. I know the creators said, I know that they would said to the creators, don't worry too much about tying into Easter eggs or cameos or who or what is where. Just tell your own story. But I have to assume there's someone being someone script editor going afterwards being okay, well, it makes sense for this character to be this character, so let's rewrite it to be that character and do all these rewriting stuff. Or at least, Tony Gillis or whatever his name is, Gilroy, is at least, vaguely even if he's not explicitly told to do so and so, he knows he has to set it in the universe and incorporate kind of etc. Andor, for all of its independence from the rest of the Star Wars story, is using a pre-existing character set in. And this is the guy who wrote Rogue One, so he knows what's going on here. I think I missed that kind of point when I was making it, but that's actually the biggest thing towards it. And Star Wars, the anime cartoons, what they called Visions, they're of unclear canon. I mean, I think the whole point is that they were told. I mean, people are saying they're not canon, and I think I personally interpret them as either being canon if they can be, and if they're in the same continuity if they can be. If they can't be, their stories told within the universe, rather than kind of rejecting it as this completely like a separate thing. Because what's the point? I'm digressing. So what makes the Acolyte really good is that it's set in a part of Star Wars that is relatively untapped in the visual medium. And so if you're someone like I'm a pretty like deep Star Wars fan, but there's probably people who are more hardcore than me, by sure. But I think I'm more into Star Wars than the average viewer. Have a Star Wars mug, as if that proves my credentials. That's my proof. And for me, this is fairly untapped. Like this, I've not engaged with like the books or the comics or whatever. So this basically lets the story be as much of Star Wars as it wants to be, without having to bear the weight of all the plot that even like the average viewer knows the plot of Star Wars, the New Hope, or like what generally the big historical moments are. And a lot of the film has to like tie itself to that. And it's so like I have no idea what the state of the Jedi Order is at this time. Like I know very much the state of the Jedi Order in the Star Wars, the Skywalker saga is a decline. It's the Jedi Order is very much become an institution that is failing itself, failing those around it, and everything that it tries to represent is very much a philosophy and a theory that takes the backseat from the practical fact that the Jedi Order at that point is a political movement. And even during the rebellion, the Jedi Order is very much a political movement. Hello, JJVR @. That's a very botty username. So I'm living optimistically, but I'm not living too much in hope. So yeah, that's what's exciting about this. And for me, the first 2 episodes definitely like fulfill that promise. Like I'm watching this and I'm feeling like I'm able to like enjoy Star Wars with the most fresh. I feel like I'm enjoying Star Wars without having to like know. I mean, Mandalorian is close to this. The Mandalorian is actually probably short of asking someone to watch A New Hope or The Phantom Menace. The Mandalorian is probably the closest like you can get to in terms of saying someone you can watch this without having to know anything else about Star Wars, because Mandalorian is very much just a Western with a Star Wars skin. That being said, that only really applies for season 1, and not even all of season 1, most of season 1. The finale and then everything from season 2 onwards starts to draw on from a lot of the current Star Wars thing. So this is even fresher from that. So, and I was able to enjoy the story because that, and I mean, it's not like the most original or novel or unique story being told at the moment. Anyway, I mean, there's only been 2 episodes out, so it's not like deep into the lore yet. Hello, Ashen, but so far, I mean, what it is essentially is a political intrigue mystery. Very light though. Essentially, you've got an assassin who's being trained by a mysterious figure to get revenge on a bunch of Jedi. What does the Jedi do? We don't know. That's the mystery of the show. It's nothing at this point, nothing deeper than that, and that's fine. Like, it doesn't have to be, breaking new boundaries, and it might do that still. It might do it in the future episodes, but so far, it's doing a good job of setting up everything, and it's made me care about his characters. They all, none of them are like completely like smashing new ground in terms of roles, but people forget Star Wars isn't meant to be that. Star Wars is historically built on taking existing legends and lore and myths and tropes and just making it its own sci-fi thing. And it if anything, it's best when it does that. See The Mandalorian, which is basically a Western, or the original Star Wars, which is basically every single adventure trope just in the sci-fi setting, you know? So I don't mind that happening here, but okay, so let's just actually talk about the episodes itself rather than the concept. I guess I didn't really talk about hugely about the concept in my trailer reviews because I didn't really understand it. Now I get it. So you've got okay, but there's a big twist. Let's start with the big twist because that obviously we can't talk about May and Osha without talking about a twist. I had the twist kind of spoiled for me, but actually not really. So because I was late watching the 2 episodes. I saw a tweet because I forgot when the episodes came out. So I saw a tweet that basically talked about twins. And really quick, I moved up in a tweet without examining it too much. So I knew twins was going to be some kind of plot twist, but I didn't know in what context. And I kind of forgot about it by the time I watched the episode. It did spoil it in the fact that by the time we'd met Osha and she was on a prison ship and she was struggling to get out of this prison cell. And I'm like, why is she not able to use the Force? Is this some kind of like dual mentality? Oh, twins. And then I was like, right, that's the twist. We're going to learn very quickly on that Osha and May are 2 different people. But to be fair, that soon after we see Osha struggle to like use the Force and crash, very quickly after that, we see her have some kind of vision or Force sensitive kind of like perception of a sister, of a younger sister, when they're both younger, and that basically confirms that there's a twin. And the next scene is explicit when George tells Saul, it's not George, it's Jord. I heard George the entire time, and I had a brief moment. I was like, George, that's a silly name for Star Wars, and I'm like, oh wait, actually, our protagonist of A New Hope is called Luke. So yes, George is perfectly fine. And then I look, and then I remind myself about the cast list, and it's Jord. I don't think I can pronounce George without it sounding like I'm saying George, though. I think my accent doesn't let me do that. So it's going to still sound like George, regardless of what I want to say. I have 5 minutes to finish this review up because I've got to go turn the oven on. I mean, I suppose I could just go turn the oven on and come back. But I don't want to miss Doctor Who. I mean, I say that as if I have to watch it bang on midnight, but I'm going to watch it bang on midnight. So we've got 5 minutes. I need to stop rambling. What was I talking about? I can't remember. Saul. No, I wasn't talking about Saul. I was talking about something else. Oh, I was talking about the plot, the twin plot twist. Yeah. So Saul confirms to George that there was twins and that they assumed May had died. And once that happens, you're like, oh well, clearly that's what's going on here. I mean, it does pull you into some like false, red herrings, very slightly. No, it doesn't. The show pretty much commits to the idea that there are twins and these are 2 different people. It confirms that for you very quickly on. I think it pulls the characters in a kind of false thing, but fortunately, there's a moment where in the second episode, May comes across the body because for some reason she splits off from the other 2 and like then happens to somehow get to the same place they're going to before they do. Which not to nitpick, but someone else is going to claim nitpick around that. And fair enough, I guess. And I thought, oh, they're gonna have this whole like extended like conflict where everyone is going to suspect May and continue to doubt her. But fortunately, we subvert that trope because George had the trope savviness of following May and finding that the body, following her and knowing she was responsible for the murder, so we don't get the the wrong suspect kind of plot line, which I'm glad because that would have been dull and I hate it, and it would have been, in my opinion, of the show would be much less. So yeah, so that was spoiled for me, but like I forgot about it, and then by the time I realized it was a reveal straight after. Anyway, hello Joseph, Ricky, how are you? Okay, so right, I have 3 minutes to give my opinions of all the characters. May is probably the least we know about at the moment. We don't know why she wants to attack the Jedi because we don't know what the Jedi have done. But I appreciate that as far as traumatized orphan assassins go, she's given some depth and nuance so far, and that she's got a degree of vulnerability about her clearly. Like when Saul approached her, she was clearly like, not just a cold assassin. She was scared about the situation. Um, there is a degree of like casualness with her speaking. I appreciate that we're not like painting her in a certain way. Um, I'm not gonna be able to go too into depth in my thoughts because I have 2 minutes and I've got to bounce. I really mistimed when I started this stream. Um, I don't think we've seen enough of May as a person yet to really be clear on the difference between May and Osha. But um, Osha's chill, I guess, is kind of how I like to describe a character, and I think certainly I like the character. I think I think, and from what I've seen of the actress, I can't remember the name of her, which isn't anything, but from what I can tell of kind of just things behind the stage, I think she's gonna bring a lot of heart to the role. Um, so I'm looking forward to that. A lot of people are criticizing. I really like. We haven't seen much of them yet, but I like Jord and I like. What's her name? Damn it! I knew I was gonna forget someone's name. Wolverine girl. Jackie. Um, I really love the dynamic of Saul, Yord. Is it Yord or is it Jord? Yord? It might be Yord, and it's just how Daphne Keane is pronouncing the name. Um, is an acolyte a follower? Do you mean just the definition of the word? An acolyte. I mean, not to waste time of my last minute remaining for half in my stream, but an acolyte's basically a way to refer to well, I guess yeah, follower, kind of a student, like kind of a disciple. Disciple. It's like another word for disciple. I think is probably the closest I can come up with it. It's also not clear who the acolyte is. I don't think this show makes it clear or explicit, and it's not beyond the norms of Star Wars to kind of give you misleading titles like the Phantom Menace from the first prequel film. You could assume is that talking about? I mean, I always thought growing up the Phantom Menace was Darth Maul because he has this phantom appearance and he's a menace, but actually it's about Darth Sidious. I don't know if that was like a deliberate mislead of the title or if I just was Harris being too young and it going off my head or whatever. I do like the kind of dynamic at Saul, Yord, and yeah, I think it is Yord, not Jord, because I'm saying Yord and it's easier to say than Jord. Saul, Yord, and Jackie have. I've not seen Logan, so I don't think I've seen Daphne Keane in anything, but I just the charisma, I guess, she's bringing to the role. I'm a big fan of. It's clear why she was cast. She's doing a very good job. I mean, all these characters have charisma. I know. I bet people are gonna find things to nitpick and hate about them, but like Charlie Barnett as Yord has a lot of charisma. I like. I mean, yes. Yeah, he was of something or another. Well, he was trying to follow in the footsteps of Darth Vader, and that's how Snoke got him. Yeah, I like the connection between Jackie, Yord, and Saul. They go have good chemistry. They all have kind of distinct personalities that we haven't really explored in much detail yet, but you can see kind of where they're going to be the character. Obviously, like Jackie is, young, but she's like capable. Very much in the same way that a lot. I mean, it's the way that a lot of Padawans are portrayed. On screen, I don't think we've on screen actually done much portrayal of young Padawans in the field. By which I mean, when we see Obi-Wan in the Phantom Menace, he's like at the end of his Padawan training. So because of that, he's pretty much an adult by that stage. I don't know. I can't remember how old Ewan McGregor is at that time, and I can't remember how old Obi-Wan Kenobi is at that time. I don't think he's actually that old. I think he's like much younger than you think he would be. And then obviously when we see Ahsoka in the animated series, she's an animated character, so we don't really appreciate how young she is. That was a thing that came up when we saw the Ahsoka flashbacks in Ahsoka, and people were surprised by how young the actress who was playing young Ahsoka was, and then people point out, no, that's how young Ahsoka actually was. All of the Padawan or the apprentices that we see in the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy are adults. They're older than they would be. So I think Jackie as a character is, as far as visual medium goes of Star Wars, by which I mean the mainstream TV and the films, is actually kind of our first real tackling of a Padawan character. So that's just kind of exciting. Jackie is an archetype, a very stereotypical kind of young, headstrong character. So, and she's very much playing that trope to a T. But like I've said, Star Wars does well when it plays when it uses tropes, be that subverting it or playing it straight, but it commits to it. I do like Yod as a character. I do get a strong feeling, and I do like relate a lot to Yod. He's someone who I think has been very recently promoted as the Jedi Knight, and just as someone who has been in youth leadership roles. So I've been like youth groups where I was given a leadership role, and as a young person, you're often kind of put into that mindset of, okay, well, there's a certain way I have to act to like impress my olders and get the respect of my youngers. But he's still obviously being himself as a young person, so there's a lot of that kind of like charisma to him. So I'm seeing a lot of like kind of that nuance to his role. I don't know if it's nuance, but there's like a detail, and I might be projecting, but good art invites you to project. Right, I am 4 minutes overdue, so I'm going to speed through the rest of these. Lee Jung Jae as Sol is like the standout for this. Joseph Ricky has asked. I mean, you saw the thing appear to here anyway, so I won't read it out. I'll basically answer your question. So you think Acolytes, and I'm assuming you're referring to Acolytes in the context of this show, are a faction of the Sith and not Sith? Possibly. I mean, here's the thing. There's a lot of backlash on the trailer of Acolyte because there was a red lightsaber user, a dark side user facing off against the protagonist of the show, and people were like, well, that contradicts the Phantom Menace when they said they haven't met a Sith Lord in the thousands of years, and that kind of, well, A, there's nothing to say about the person they fought with a Sith Lord. Also, as people point out, this is the Jedi Order in its decline. The fact that they, people political, it's a common political thing even here and now in modern age, that people will just deny threats as a sign of political incompetence. So, yeah, I don't know. I think to be honest, I think my thinking always was that this user here, who we see, who is the red lightsaber user, probably isn't a Sith. They're probably just another dark side user. In the same way that, like you say, Kylo isn't strictly a Sith. He's a dark side user. I think Star Wars has been pretty it's outside of the established Sith Lords, it's pretty happy to use dark side users. We had the Inquisitors who are dark side users and not Sith. So, and even then, even like Darth Maul, they've kind of retroactively said for most of his time was just a Sith assassin. He only really became a Sith Lord very late on, and then I think if you get the timeline right, because Plagueis, I think he was a Sith Lord for less than a year, because Plagueis gets murdered during the events of Phantom Menace, and only after then does Darth Maul get promoted to a Sith Lord, and then Darth Maul dies. So actually, it's even less than a year. It's like, what, a week? Darth Maul did not have a really good career as a Sith Lord. And I guess the last thing to talk about is Indara. I've not watched The Matrix, so I don't have any particular fondness. That sounds wrong. I'm not. Carrie-Anne Moss isn't an actress I'm familiar with because I've not seen The Matrix. She's clearly cast as someone. I mean, it even says that she was that she was cast to kind of invoke the Trinity feel. I've seen. I really do need to watch The Matrix. To be honest, I've seen 5 minutes of it. I think the fact that she dies in the first 5 minutes of the first episode is meant to be shock. People are complaining about it. I'm like, that's a pretty common thing. It's not a common thing, but it's happened before. There's been like, I know there was a horror film. I can't remember which one it is now, that famously casts like a big, like a big name girl as what appears to be the protagonist, and she dies in the cold opening. Um, Torchwood kills one of the actresses. I can't remember her name is what her name is now, but she's going to be Doctor Who in 20 minutes, which reminds me I need to like leave. I'm going to be late now. It's going to take me like 25 minutes to make my food. Um, it's pretty common to like do this. Not common, but it's not unheard of. So, and also Carrie-Anne Moss is still in the show. Like, there's gonna be flashback. We've seen there's gonna be flashback sequences, and I imagine she's gonna be a pretty major player in the flashback sequences. So, the fact that they kill her off in the first like 5 minutes, I think actually I agree with what Leslie Headland says about killing off this person who was billed as a main character, killing her off very early on, and considering it's set in the High Republic and we don't know much about these characters, means that there's no a big complaint about Obi-Wan Kenobi, rightly so, was that the stakes are somewhat lowered by the fact that the stakes are lowered by the fact that you knew most of the characters were going to survive, whereas in here we don't know who's going to survive. They all could die. So that does kind of help, I guess. I'm going to answer Joseph Ricky's last points, and then I'm going to kill the stream because I need to go get ready for Doctor Who. This has gone on for too long. I shouldn't have started the stream. I thought I was going to be done in 20 minutes. Clearly I had more thoughts than I thought I did. To some of my thoughts, strong start. It's also shot really, really well. I think it's shot, I don't know if it's post-production or shot like that, but there was certainly like grain on the, there was grain on the when I watched it. I'm hoping that isn't like my internet connection being bad. So clearly trying to evoke that kind of more classic feel. The action sequences are really good. I mean, I know they're very kind of like kung fu-y, but you know, that's not a bad thing. I don't know why people are like wire fu kind of like very kind of like stylized cinematic fantasy kind of like martial arts. I don't know when that became like such a dirty concept to do in your content. You know, it was like 20 years ago that was all the rage. Like it's still cool. Like fight scenes in film aren't meant to be realistic. Realistic fight scenes are over in 10 seconds. If you want a good drawn out fight scenes in film are meant to be a dance. They're meant to tell a story. They have verses and lines. You're meant to make them. They're meant to be hyperbolic. Hyperbolic. That's the word. I got it eventually. So the fact that they're all exaggerated is fine. It's good. I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. I enjoyed all the fight sequences. I enjoyed the fact that the Jedi didn't pull out the lightsaber. Well, someone's commented actually that you have Saul and Indara. Saul who never pulls out his lightsaber, and Indara who only pulls it out at the end, and then you have Yord who pulls out at any given time, which I think is also very telling about the characters. Yeah, I think it's directed very well. I think, I think, yeah, Saul is definitely going to be like one of my favorite characters. I think like Lee Jung Jae understood the assignment. He's put in the time we've seen him, he's put a lot into emotion investing in the character. Everything he's feeling is what I'm feeling. And it's nice to have a protagonist where you're in sync with. So like I'm like, yes, you're doing the right thing. You're taking the right approach. You're being patient. You're not jumping to assumptions. You're thinking things through. You're not showing frustration. You're being kind. And I'm like, yes, go you. So and he's playing it very well. There's a lot of heart. There's a lot of like empathy there. Right, I am so late. Yeah, no, that's the point I was making, Joseph Ricky. Not everyone who uses a red lightsaber is a Sith. Like I say, Inquisitors aren't Sith. Dark Jedi aren't Sith. There are assassins who use lightsabers. Like, what's her name? Ventress was never a Sith Lord or even a Sith apprentice. I mean, well, different mediums comment on it differently. I wouldn't say Ventress was a Sith. I think she was just a dark side user who's being used as an assassin. I can't remember how old Chewbacca is. Should we find out? Should we Google this? I'm late. Do we know Chewbacca's canonical birth? Chewbacca was born 200 years before the Battle of Yavin, and the Acolyte is set. That's the wrong website. Where are you, Wikipedia? It's set 132. So Chewbacca would be 68 years old at this point. So he could turn up. I don't know why he would. I don't know why he's relevant to the story. But yes, he could turn up. Okay. I'm gonna miss Doctor Who. Yeah. Oh, I guess, I'm just gonna have to pause it while I'm making food. Anyway, I need to go. Okay, I'll see everyone at 1 o'clock for my Doctor Who reaction. So if you're into Doctor Who, I'll be much more coherent there because I have better thoughts of Doctor Who than I do about anything else. So stick around for that. Anyway, I'm gonna stop babbling because I need to go. Where's my... There we go. Okay, bye.